Hey, it's Todd Burrier from toddburrier.com, and today we're going to talk about 5 primary things that break trust in leadership. Leadership is where it's at as it relates to building your business and building a legacy. Anything that lasts, John Maxwell says this, rises and falls on leadership. And you are in a position to lead. The moment you sponsor someone, you might not consider it that way because you're thinking about who am I to lead in many cases. But you are. And so just a quick overview. This is a sweet spot topic for me, and it's a really important thing to grasp for you. And so leadership comes from one word, comes from influence, right? In a networking arena, really all leadership is centered this way. And when I teach leadership in corporate boardrooms or I teach it on network marketing stages, it doesn't matter. It always is driven the same way. True leadership is people wanting to follow, and that only comes from influence. That's what this I represents, right? So how do you get to influence? Because it's a long trail from where you start to getting up there, okay? And so it starts with, on this axis, your competence, your ability to do the thing that you're doing. And on the bottom is character. It's who you are in the work, right? Are you trustworthy, for example? And you have to have both to create your credibility, because it is the purposeful application of credibility. That's what influence is, okay? So that gives you a little platform. And so trust is at the center of it, right? If you think of trust, and I do a significant session on trust when I'm doing leadership training because it's such an important fundamental. It is the engine that drives the entire piece of credibility. Without trust, there's no credibility, okay? So there was a survey done by Manchester Consulting several years ago, and they came up with the 5 biggest trust breakers. Now, there are many in networking. Some are fair and some are not. And what I mean by fair and not is that in many cases, it can be perceived you broke a trust when in fact you didn't, but it doesn't really matter, does it? Because it's the perception. And so in leadership, especially as your organization grows, you have to be really conscious about how your activities are being perceived and how you are operating, because you're always under a microscope. So these are the 5 to absolutely avoid. Now there's a zillion of them I could do multiple sessions on this, but I'm just going to give you these 5 that Manchester Consulting came up with. So the first is acting inconsistently in what you say and what you do. In other words, can people trust what you say, right? Can they trust what you say and the way you say it and what you do and the way you do it? Is it something that they can rely on? In other words, if you behave one day a certain way with someone, you speak a certain way with them, and the next day it's entirely different, they don't know who's who. They don't know, are you Dr. Jekyll or are you Mr. Hyde? And so then they can't trust who you're going to be. They don't know how to be with you, right? So you have to have consistency in what you say and what you do. Not to mention, you got to walk your talk. That goes without saying. But I'm breaking this down a little deeper. So that's number 1. Number 2 is you can never be seen as seeking personal gain above shared gain. And this is a huge one in the network marketing field. It's where a lot of people fall down. And the reason they fall down is because they will push people to do certain things, achieve a rank, and spend a lot of money to do it, under the guise that that's the best thing for you to do, when in fact it's so that they can rise up, right? That they can achieve another rank, or that they can make a little bit more money. So it's there is a fine line between manipulation and motivation. And you can never be perceived. The moment you are perceived as seeking personal gain over the welfare of someone you are leading, it's over. You will never regain their trust. They will never believe that you are anything other than that you represent. And that's the nature of trust. You can spend a long time growing it deeply with someone, and you can blow it in a second. So that's why it's important to know. Next is withholding information. And this one is a difficult one, because there are different things that people at different levels and maturity are capable of understanding. And so there's a reason in a corporate hierarchy that as you go up different levels, that each level is privy to a higher level of information, because someone on the front line doesn't even know how to interpret that. They have no idea, no understanding. Many things that go on in the inner machinations of a company, the people who don't understand business, for example, would flip out. They would flip out that these things are happening when in fact they're day to day, right? So withholding information is another delicate area. Now it's less so in a networking organization, because they're really, most of what you know, it's okay for people to know. Now, they may not know how to, it might be too much early in, right, to explain to someone how to drive a line down and find the key person and grow that leg out and how to do certain things, right, because it's too advanced. And so that's not really withholding information. That's just smart progression in training. But for example, if you know something about something relative to, a new product, or if you have information that is acceptable for people to have, you shouldn't withhold it, right? And you shouldn't say, oh, I'm going to give it to Mary but not to Bob, right? Because then you are not treating people with an even platform, okay? So that's key. The fourth one should be obvious: lying. If you're caught in a lie, it's over. I mean, it's over. People will not trust you. But even half-truths, right, can be seen as a lie. And then the fifth one is really, really interesting, especially in today's day and age. And the fifth one is being closed-minded. I know so many people in leadership, in network marketing, who are closed-minded. They're absolutely being stupid. How can you be closed-minded in today's world, right? They'll say, don't do that ever. Don't do that ever. Don't listen to that out there. Instead of saying, there are lots of creativity. There's lots of new things going on that we could take advantage of if we're open-minded to learn from them. So being closed-minded, actually, it doesn't just hurt you from the standpoint of what's possible, right? Because it's closing off anything other than what you know already, which in today's world is suicide. It's business suicide, right? But it also, the people that are with you, if they perceive you as being closed-minded, will they trust you to bring an idea to you? No. Will they trust you beyond how they perceive you? No, right? Your ability to even interact with people is going to be greatly decreased. So those 5 things are the top, according to Manchester Consulting, the top trust breakers. There are a whole bunch more for our work. I've had as many as 50 come out in a group before when I was facilitating them out. But that's important. You want to guard trust. You want to guard trust with everything that you've got. I'm going to do another article in the near future where I'm going to talk about the 5 key things to do. So I hope you got value from this. Please share if you feel like it will help your teammates. If you haven't, signed up for my 27 phrases that really work, I'd suggest that. Everybody struggles a little bit with what to say at times. And from someone who was an introvert who learned how to be a master prospector, these phrases really work. So thanks for stopping by. Have a great day.